All right, good afternoon. How's everyone doing today? Almost done with this conference. All right, so welcome. My name is Brittany Galino. I am the Program and Testing Coordinator at Indian River State College. We are located in Fort Pierce, Florida. Today we're going to talk about the IET Collaborating for Student Success. And here with me, I have my coworker.
Hi, welcome. Thank you for joining us. My name is Megan Duke, and I'm the Instructional Coordinator at Indian River State College.
Oh. This remote was working, but maybe not. Oh, okay. Everything worked at once then. Okay.
So we're just going to share with you a little bit about our vision and mission with our adult education students at Indian River State College. One of our goals, of course, like all of you that are creating IETs and putting your students in successful IETs, is that we want to integrate our adult education students into classrooms where they can get the career readiness skills they need or earn those credentials that they need to join the workforce. So one of the ways we're doing that is we are actually putting our IET students right into our college with the rest of our college students. So whether it's CENA, CDL, college credit certificate in business, we're just putting them right into our institution's classes with the other college going students. So our students have really enjoyed that for multiple reasons, and we'll share that with you as we proceed. But one of the things is that we are including those students, whether they're ESL and GED, in those college level courses, and they feel part of the college. And with our ESL students, they're of course immersed in classrooms where there's English speaking, but by not only the instructors, but their classmates as well.
Okay, but our starting point, because we did not have a successful IET program when we first started. Rewind 3 years ago, I'm sure a lot of you guys were in the same situation. Our enrollment was low post-COVID. We did not have a lot of students in our program. We actually had about half of what we have now. We had unsuccessful IET programs. We had 3. We had a couple of students enrolled in the CNA program, but our other 2 programs, we had culinary, we had business, no enrollment, 0. And we were working in a silo. We were the redheaded stepchild of the college. They didn't know who we were. They honestly couldn't tell a student what building we were in. They didn't know who the contact person was. We were over here completely separate from the college, even though we were housed right on site on the campuses. So we had no community outreach involved with other college outreach initiatives. We were separate. And I'm sure that that's an issue in a lot of places. I've noticed is that adult ed is usually separated from other institutions, or if they're at a state college level, community college, technical college, adult ed may be separate compared to what the other credit or CTE programs are. Okay, so how did we change this? So first off, we built a relationship with our leadership. At the time, we got moved around a lot. We were originally in the School of Ed, and we got moved to the School of Business. It doesn't make sense, but it did. So we got moved to the School of Business, and our dean knew absolutely nothing about adult education. So he was like, okay, give me the highlight reel. What is it? What is adult ed? And we introduced a lot of leadership to adult ed, how it impacts the community, how a lot of these students are right on site on their campus under their nose, and they had no idea the scope of the types of students that we serve, the impact, the result of how some of these students ended up working for us afterwards, the success rate. So building a relationship with your leadership, because if they don't know about you and they don't know the impact and what you serve, how can they support you when they're in those leadership meetings that you guys are not a part of? So that's really the most important part to get started, is to have a relationship with your leadership. Right now, our dean is actually here for School of Ed. She's supporting us this week, so definitely have your leadership involved with you.
And part of that too, we have asked our leadership to help us reach out to other portions of the college. I know about a year ago, we met with the dean of the workforce area of our college. Our whole team went, we explained who we are and what we do. And in turn, they gave us a tour of all of the facilities. So, hey, possibly what IETs could we write? And if it wasn't maybe something that we could write as an IET right away for various reasons, as far as, you know, how well the student would do in the program, how long, if it's a 2-year program, maybe that wasn't the best fit for GED students, but saying, hey, how can we funnel our students? Who do we need to contact? Who do they need to speak to? What are some of the requirements for these programs? So we did that as well. We also reached out to academic advisors, and we met with some of our staff met with the academic advisors. What do you do? And in turn, we explain what we do, and we could send students back and forth. So mutually beneficial. Either are we going to have them come be our students, or how can we transition our students into other areas of the college, if that was right for them right when they came to us, or after they finish their ESOL or GED courses.
So since a lot of the leadership was not familiar with IET, we kind of started to figure out a standard way to explain it to them. And that was adult ed dual enrollment in a way, because our GED students are taking CTE programs, career and technical education. They're doing any type of workforce training at the same time as they're doing their GED. So for dual enrollment, I don't know if you guys are familiar with dual enrollment on your state, but yeah, same thing. So that's the best way that we were able to explain it to them for them to understand. We also tried to highlight the benefits of assimilating our students into their existing programs. For example, our CNA program at the time had fairly low enrollment. They were closing classes because they were not filled. So when we find out, hey, we have adult ed students who could potentially be eligible for your program, how would you feel about that? Well, absolutely, because now we're going to be able to finally fill our classes when we had too many empty seats before. Also too, they realized that it would help with FTE. They would be able to have an increased chance of transitioning into degree seeking programs afterwards. When those students were already familiar with being a part of the college and they already had access to the resources as a regular college student, they felt like they were able to ask more questions. They were able to get the stuff that they needed and get more guidance when they were finally interested into transitioning into post-secondary. Another thing that we mentioned is opportunity for instructors in other departments to teach adult ed. So we actually had a lot of instructors that, as secondary employment or adjuncts who maybe didn't get a class that semester, hey, adult ed needs teachers. So we actually had quite a few of our college full-time staff members and adjuncts interested in teaching in adult ed because of needing extra income or just needing a class because they didn't get one that semester. I think right now we currently have 5 or 6 that are going through the hiring process to be a part of our department as well as their own. So not to mention, those are already very experienced instructors who are already credentialed at the college level. So you're getting access to a pool that you didn't have access to before. Not to mention that some of those may already have experience in the CTE program or the college credit program that the IET is a part of. So now you have someone who's an expert in their career in that field, teaching ESOL or GED on top of that. So their primary point is that college program.
And just to add a little bit to that, a lot of those instructors also didn't know who we were or what we did. They knew we had an adult ed program, but what does that mean? So it's opened a lot of eyes as well. So, hey, family members of students, families in the community, friends in the community, it was a free outreach. So the other thing is our IET model. We have a partially integrated IET model, which allows our students to feel part of the college experience, like we mentioned earlier, because they're enrolling alongside actual college students and native speakers. And what was really cool is once they got into the program, they realized that maybe they were surrounded by people that were from similar backgrounds that just were in a different level of their English language proficiency, which was really neat. And they also made connections with other people in the community that they would have otherwise not been able to meet had they not been in the IET. So they were kind of building their own culture and family support system in these classrooms. Again, they were existing programs. We weren't having to reinvent the wheel. These were already college level programs that were successful or that had expert teachers, but also maybe needed help with enrollment. So again, mutually beneficial for adult ed and the rest of the institution. As Brittany mentioned earlier, we had experienced instructors. They were already masters of, their trade or their area of work, and we were just going to supplement and kind of teach them what we do in ESOL and GED to support those students in the classroom. And do we talk later? Oh, well, yep. And then also one of the things we wanted to mention is that we are a little bit selective. So when we look at our GED population and we look at their testing scores, we use students that are level 4, 5, and 6. And with ESOL, we use students that are level 5 and 6. And here's a really good reason why. A couple semesters ago, we were allowing ESOL level 4, 5, and 6 students to do our IET programs. And after talking to the instructor during the course and after the course, she's like, we had these two students really struggled, and what can I do to support them? What can you do to help support this student? Because it's given a lot of extra work to me this term. And we realized that they were both level 4 students. So we've decided to step back and maybe do those upper level 4 students or only include level 5 and 6 students so that we know that they're going to be successful, not only for themselves finishing the program, passing, the certification, but also it doesn't reflect on that teacher that they have students that are not passing in the course. Also, as they get into the CNA course, one of our full-time adult ed staff members at that site will support them in because with CNA, there's a lot of prereqs, a lot of things that are needed. And in that, she's having communication with that student to see if they're actually ready, because she's actually taken the CNA course earlier in her career as well. She has a medical background. So the last thing is that it's increased enrollment for all. We are getting more students into these IET programs, and because we already have quality programs established, and again, we're supporting the college.
And also to add to what Megan was talking about, so for those who are not familiar with partially integrated IET models, so that means the student is fully enrolled in the college credit course or the clock hour course. And then separate, they are getting the adult ed component that bridges that. Why we decided to choose this model was because it helps those who have limited resources. So if you are struggling to find instructors to just teach IET, you're already having access to the instructor that's existing for the college. And then all you have to worry about is the adult ed component and helping assist the students with IET. This was the easiest for us because, for example, our ESOL enrollment is through the roof right now, and we were trying to cover our existing ESOL students that have a need in our community. So how are we also going to help our IET students when all of our teachers are already spread thin? So by having the existing programs being offered and enrolling our students in that, it helped with us manage our resources a little bit better and take advantage of what the college is already offering. And to add with Megan talking about us being selective. So I know that a lot of other programs, the whole point is enrollment. We were worried about more quality than quantity with our IET program. So the whole point is that we wanted our students to pass. And for CNA, if you're not familiar, usually the industry certification is the prometric exam. So we wanted our students to pass the class and pass the prometric. We don't want to send students if they're not going to complete and they're not going to be successful. So the main focus is you're sending the students to the college. You want the college to be happy that the students are in their program and not making additional work for them, not adding extra stress to an instructor for them supporting the ESOL students or GED students for that matter. So we really tried to do a pre-screening with our students who may be interested in CNA or any of our other programs, figure out how committed they are, figure out if their English level or their GED level reaches the capability of what's needed for that program, and being able to assess based on that. We had so many students that were interested and we said, hey, you're so close, not there. And then we'd give them a target. Hey, you need to reach NRS level 5. You're already at 4. If you do your hours this semester and you post-test, you're very likely to be ready next semester. That also helps with your existing ESOL retention or GED retention, because in their regular adult ed class, now they have a goal and motivation to complete at the end. Yeah.
instruction
Yes.
to help them get ready?
Yes.
So you're pushing them up?
Yeah, we use Burlington English for ours. So Burlington English has a lot of career readiness resources. So there is a health science and a CNA one that the students have access to that they can already practice the vocabulary in preparation for the CNA course in the future. And the students continue to use Burlington English as they move through the course as well. Our CNA course, for example, is a 10-week program, and it's 4 mornings a week. So the students usually, we have a lot of students who either do like the online portion for adult ed, and then they do the face-to-face for the CNA class, or they do face-to-face back-to-back.
To add to that, we also like for CDL, I did have a level 5 student who I had worked with. He's actually my student this term, and he's very his English is good. He's doing a wonderful job, but you have to take a small portion of the CDL permit before you actually take the course, which is a little confusing to me. But he was provided with studying resources to help him pass that exam, and he's like, I'm really struggling with the vocabulary. So as his instructor, I'm like, okay, I'm going to give you this in Burlington English. There's a whole unit on logistics, or is that the correct logistics and transportation. He studied it for a couple weeks. He started class on Monday. He passed that permit, and he's started his CDL class this past Monday.
So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the certified nursing assistant program that we have and how we built the relationship with that department. So as we mentioned that they had fairly low enrollment at the time, so they needed students and we needed them. So we had a meeting with the instructor for that class. Her name's Dr. Copeland. She's fantastic. Dr. Copeland told us the prerequisites, all the things that we need to do. She also gave us all of the information on the resources on how to get those students ready and complete those prerequisites. So basically we got full access to everything that they use to get the students ready with background check, drug testing, where they normally send students for vaccinations, how they can fill out certain forms to help with alleviating costs. They basically gave us full access to everything, so the students are treated in the same as if they are applying to the CNA program as a regular student. So by doing that, they shared resources. We also followed up as the semesters were going. So, hey, how are the students currently doing in the class? What are you struggling with? Have you noticed anything that we could better support our students moving forward? And that's, as Megan was talking about, where she had noticed a couple of students who were really struggling in the class that semester and how she kind of had to do extra legwork to support those students. That's when we realized those were ESOL level 4 students specifically. And that's when, moving forward, we decided to do it more pre-screening on the level 4 students, where we still send some, but the ones who are on the higher level of level 4. For those who teach ESOL, you may be familiar. Level 4, I feel like you have some that don't talk a whole lot and are a little bit shyer and may not be at the same level. And then you have some level 4 students who are super chatty, and it's like, it's kind of surprising sometimes to see the same level have such a big spectrum of capability. So after that, we decided to adjust it a little bit, and we no longer allowed, or we pre-screened level 4 students moving forward. So that way Dr. Copeland was happy with the students that we were sending into her class and not adding a super ton of extra work for her. She also gave us some resources because on top of that, she does a study session with the students after they complete the course for preparing for the prometric exam. She gave our students access to all of that. So they were able to come to the study sessions. She gave them everything that they needed to prepare for the exam. She does a handful of the study sessions, I believe, leading up to the exam. Not to mention too, the results. So we got feedback from it. More students are talking about it, and we've had 41 students go through the CNA program, and every single student has passed the class. So something's working. The amount that have passed prometric is a good portion of that as well. I don't have the exact number. A lot of them are still waiting to take the exam, or they have appointments pending. We did have a couple that had to retake it on a second try, but the success has been pretty strong. Not to mention, now we have a program that we have a relationship with in the college, and they're happy with us too. So having that good connection and having a good rapport with another department is really great.
So we've done something similar with the CDL program. Originally, when this IET was approved at the college, we had a partner. The college had a partner, and it was a trucking company that came in. Since then, it has moved under continuing ed, which is also, we're in the same part of the college. And so that has really helped our program and our students. And also, we're really proud of the quality of the course that they're getting because of the instructor. So same thing, we do a pre-screening. The students come and sit with a full-time staff member, and after we say, you know, okay, they're a level 5 student, you are eligible. Let's go talk to this person and let's give you the details and let's see if you're still interested and want to move forward. So we talk about that permit that has to go on their license, that they have to have a physical done by the, you know, that's accepted by the Department of Education, and then all of the other things that go along with it, how long the class is, where it's located. And then if they're ready to move forward, I have the facilitator for the class, his phone number. He kind of reiterates the same information and helps them move forward. There is a lot of paperwork and applications. So if they need support, I always say, hey, Jimmy, just push them back to me if they need help with the applications, because he's still too busy teaching the class and doing the testing. And we'll support the students in filling out that paperwork, giving them extra. He has free resources for them to study, but if it's more of a language thing, you know, let me know what I can do to help. So that's been wonderful. Before, the training was part-time and it was a much longer program. It was anywhere from 8 to 10 weeks. Our current program is only 4 weeks long. They spend 40 hours in the classroom at one of our largest campuses, which is good because that's where most of our students are. And then they do the other 3 weeks out. It's about 20 minutes away, 15, 20 minutes away, out at our local fairgrounds. And we actually have semi trucks. Jimmy could tell you so much more about them. They're wonderful, he says. It has all of the new equipment and technology for the students that they're actually going to see when they enter the workforce. But he works around their schedule. As you know, a lot of our students are working. They have families. They have lives just like we do. So he's wonderful to work with. And he's like, it doesn't matter what level, we're going to make it through. But he has seen a lot of success with us having the level 5 and 6 students, with them being able to communicate more, with them getting more out of the education they're receiving because they can communicate what their needs and their questions. So this is one of our students. She just graduated last week. We're super proud of her. She's one of our GED students, and the first female from adult ed that's received this certification. And also what's really exciting, the licensure, our facilitator with CDL is also a state licensure. He just took the test. He called me on the way back from Tallahassee and he's like, guess what? So I'm super proud of him because now he has an all-inclusive, it's a one-stop shop for CDL. They can come and get their training. They can, and they can get their state license with us if they're also working on their language and GED.
And another exciting thing about this is that this is our 3rd semester with the CDL program, and every single student has earned their CDL Class A license that has gone through this program. Every single one has completed and earned the licensure as well. Yes, Stephanie?
If they're willing to go to work and drive long distances, they can start out around $90,000 a year. So these are students who may not have had any income prior to this, who can now have close to a 6-figure income.
Who are you partnering with your CDL? Who's hiring?
It's in,
Who's hiring them? All over the place. We are in a part of Florida that has a big warehousing district. So, but a lot of interest from Walmart and Amazon, but we have Walmart and Amazon warehouses very close to us.
And I reached out to the facilitator and I'm like, who's hiring? And he gave me like a list of 8 people with their phone numbers. Here, speak to this, give me the name at this place. So when my students come back and are like, I'm like, hey, how's it going? Well, it's good. I'm still taking my ESOL or my GED class, but I don't have a job. I send them back. I'm like, I email Jimmy, 2 minutes later, I get this long list and they're off and running. So, and he has the relationships with them as well. They know the quality of the student because they've worked with our facilitator.
And to go back to the relationship that we have with the college side as well, is the best part about this is that our full-time adult ed staff have a full understanding of how the CDL program works or the CNA program. Not to mention the other side of it, they have an understanding of our adult ed students. So basically, no matter which side the adult ed student goes to, they can get the same kind of support or they can be directed to the right person from there. So by having that good communication, we just have a straight line of communication between the two. So that way, no matter what where the student goes, what they ask, they can get the same consistent information from either side, from the college or from adult ed. So we have 2 more programs that we're currently in progress with. We have a business specialist college credit certificate where the student can earn 12 college credit hours in conjunction with doing their GED. We only have it for GED only students. That can also go towards an associate's degree if once they complete and enroll in the college. That one's not mentioned here, but currently we're working on CNC Advanced Manufacturing Bootcamp. We're working with the School of Continuing Ed again with this one. They have a federal grant that actually covers the cost of tuition for this one. So the students can enroll in this program for free. It's 5 weeks. And the students, this is where we have a lot of manufacturing and logistics in the area right now. So a lot of the students are getting hired right after completing. Yep, that one's a 5-week training. And we also met with them. They showed us the facility. They showed us the equipment. If anyone has ever seen one of those CNC machines, they're quite cool looking. And basically, since a lot of adult ed students, or a lot of students in general, are not familiar with manufacturing or with CNC, we already talked about ways that we could set up a student orientation where they can walk through that facility and get an idea of what it looks like before they actually enroll in the program. So something to get them excited, something to get them committed, and to see if that's something that they want to do. And that department has already talked about being present for that event to be able to answer any questions that we may not know the answer to, or helping us fill in the gap. So it's literally both ends coming together to be able to complete that student orientation for our students. So it's really changed the mindset for the college because they see adult ed students as regular college students in that way. Pipeline for them for enrollment, and they are more than willing to assist with us in doing these orientations or providing any other information that the students may have regarding the program.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we only do it for GED students right now. They have to be level 4, 5, or 6 in both math and reading. The best part about our college credit certificate for business specialists right now is that those classes, we have 6 campuses at Indian River State College, and they're across 4 counties. All of those 4 classes that are required for the college credit certificate are offered mostly on all of those campuses face-to-face, and there's also an online option. So the students are able to basically enroll in whatever is flexible for them. They do 2 semesters of the program. It's 2 classes per semester. So 2 classes of, I believe it's like intro to business and marketing for one, and then management for the other, and entrepreneurship. So they do 2 classes one semester with their GED, and then they do 2 classes the next semester with their GED. That one's a much more longer and more rigorous program because they are enrolled with college students, and it is a college level class. We actually worked with the our School of Business, and we have a relationship with them where they override the student's requirement, and they're able to get registered into those classes in advance.
So traditional high school students would be able to take them for college credit as well. And
Mhm.
that's why they are already approved to be taken by high school students.
Yes, they don't have their GED.
No. For those who are listening through the virtual chat, our dean also added that those classes are already approved for dual enrollment. So for high school level, so that's why the students in the GED program are also eligible for that.
And the next one that we're currently working on, we just submitted it last week, is a preschool specialization. So this is also a college credit certificate where they're going to be sitting alongside college level students. It's 4 classes as well. And they get a certificate. But again, that's not the end for them. If they want to continue in the college level, this would go towards their AA degree. We also found out as we were writing the single set of learning objectives that one of the new teachers that we have joining us, who also teaches in the School of Ed, this is her area of expertise, is childhood education. So we're going to have that support as well, bounce ideas off of her. Hey, you know, how can we better support you in the ESOL and GED classrooms with, because we're partially integrated with, you know, the content that they're going to be receiving, because she's probably actually going to be their teacher. I think this class is taught on Saturdays. So she'll be their ESOL and GED teacher during the week and then be their preschool course instructor on the weekend. So we're really excited and we're ready for our students to get started. And how we've been deciding is based on what we hear students telling us they're interested in, but we're also looking at trends in the area. Like she said, we serve 4 counties. So our counties are very, very different. One of our counties is very, very rural. And then our other counties are larger. One's a very affluent community of more older retired individuals. So even though we're tailoring to the needs of the community, but we also looked at what does the college offer? What are some of the more short term? Because by the time they're a level 4, 5, or 6 GED student or a level 5 or 6 ESOL student, they don't have 2 years, you know, there's not 2 years left. They're ready to get out. They're ready to be done with their GED or they're at their exit level ESOL. So we were looking for short-term programs, and we're like, okay, we went to the college catalog. What do they offer? Okay, who's the contact person for this? Like, especially for CNC, it's somebody in the college that we had not had the pleasure of meeting yet. Okay, well, let's reach out to them. Let's meet. And we've been welcomed with open arms. Again, because it's helping meet, you know, our goals, but their goals as well.
Not to mention too, that because these are already established programs, when we make the single set of learning objectives, they're already sharing the curriculum that they have created in the syllabus and their learning objectives matching the state standards. And all we have to do is add our adult ed component to them. So half the work's already done for us already because we're using existing programs. Yes? No, we do not do co-teaching in any of our programs. No, that's why we use the partially integrated model, because of the fact that we're able to have the flexibility of whatever the IET program schedule is, and then we have a standard adult ed schedule that our students are accustomed to. Yeah, so basically the main takeaways of this has helped enrollment on both sides, adult ed and the IET, and the college side. So CDL has gotten plenty of enrollment from us, CNA, and we've even had some college credit certificate students already. The students feel included. They feel like they're a part of the college and that they're a college student. They get student IDs as if they're an Indian River State College student. They get the same credentials. They don't feel like they're any different, which is something that's really great for the students, because a lot of those students, they're new, this is their first time in the country, or they haven't completed their high school diploma yet, and they haven't felt like they've reached that point. But to be included and to feel a part of the rest of the college has been really enriching for them and has given them the motivation to move forward as well. Department collaborations. So now our departments know us, we know them, we know contacts with them. They include us in their outreach. We had an event recently that was for the Hispanic community, and they were like, okay, who's coming from adult ed? We just recently had one as well for the Mexican consulate that we also attended, that was recommended to us from Indian River State College recruitment. So they've built a good relationship with us, and they usually think about us now when it comes to how can adult ed attend some of these events to also try to increase their enrollment. Quality instruction, because these instructors are experts in their field. We're not hiring adult ed instructors to teach a CDL class. We're not hiring adult ed instructors to teach CNA. These are people who were hired by the college that met the credentials that now are doing ESOL and GED as well. Measurable results, as you see, we've had all of our students pass these classes. For CDL, all of them have earned the licensure. For CNA, a good portion of them have earned the licensure, and all of them have passed the class. And we've also been able to get a good pool of instructors when we've been struggling. As you know, with adult ed, there's a lot of turnover with the adjunct instructors or the part-time instructors. So to be able to have a pool of instructors from the college side that already exists, that are maybe looking for extra hours or are looking to teach additional classes, and to be able to have access to that is really fantastic, because our program just keeps growing and we just keep needing more teachers. So to have more available to us is really awesome.
Does anybody have any questions? I know we kind of answered them throughout, and I didn't see any questions in the chat. Yes, sir.
It's really informal. Yeah, it's really informal. Our career pathways facilitator, which is like our IET advisor in a way, they kind of sit down with the student, try to get an idea of their goals, have a conversation with them, see how the student's skills are with their conversation, assess their scores, try to figure out what the student's long-term goals are. And usually just from the conversation component, they're usually able to get an idea of the student's background as well. And if they're capable of doing the IET program right away, or if they need a little extra work before they're able to do it. So it's really informal. Also too, our advisors and facilitators for IET build a good relationship with these students. We have like a point person for each of the programs, and that person walks through the student from beginning to end. So they help them do all of the prerequisites for the program. They check in with the students. They provide the instructional support for the things that the students are missing in their class that marries the ESOL and the GED component with the CT and college programs. And yeah, so it's super informal and they build a good relationship with them. So they have a contact person throughout as well from the adult ed side.
Thank you. Any more questions? Yes.
Is the ability to benefit part of this?
So that's something that Florida is really not utilizing at the time, but we're working on that. So we're hoping that that's going to be an option. I don't know if this is, we use open door funding. So that has helped as well. I'm thinking it's a Florida thing.
Federal funding, so it may be called something different interstate, but it's part of the.
So they are approved by the job center already.
Sometimes, in our case in particular with the grant that they're talking about,
Yeah, I was
the
gonna say
college
career
was
source.
awarded an allotment of funds that it can issue without our workforce investment board, which is called Career Source in Florida, but students can go to Career Source as well. So there are multiple ways. Florida's a little bit different than a lot of other states.
Yes.
And, so we have, some funding sources that are definitely,
Unique.
beneficial.
And I was going to say, and we also have recently found out that there's we can't do a large sum, but some tuition can come out of our grant. So we found that as well. But that was something I was going to say as well. Is for yeah, well, come on, let's bring it on. With our CDL, with the funding, I let them know, hey, you're probably you're gonna have to show these documents to establish, Florida residency for 1 year. But our facilitator walks them through that process as well. So if they're not eligible for certain funding sources, he has a relationship with the financial aid part of the college and says, hey, these are some other options, Career Source being one of them, where it's a community partner that we have.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I was just gonna talk. Yeah, so yeah, our open door funding, it covers the tuition and textbooks for the classes. Unfortunately, it doesn't cover the prerequisites. So if the student needs background check, drug test, vaccinations for CNA, for example, the student would have to pay that cost. That's something that's our current project, is trying to find an industry partner who would maybe find a way to support that moving forward, because that has changed. Initially, when Open Door was a grant and the scholarship was formatted differently, they were able to get a stipend, or we were able to cover the cost of the prerequisites before. The last 2 semesters, that's recently changed. So we're trying to find new alternatives to help support those students, because that is kind of a hefty upfront cost for a lot of the students. Thankfully, with CDL, it's usually just a drug test and background check. So it's not as expensive for the student upfront. The tuition's fairly expensive for CDL, but thankfully it's covered, thankfully, because of the Open Door scholarship, or because of our grant tuition, because we've allotted a certain amount of money to come out of our grant to cover tuition for our adult ed students. Yes.
It depends on the funding it. So if it's Career Source, which is our workforce investment board, then it's gotta go through them. If it's the migrant farm workers grant, then it's gotta go through them. If it's something that was awarded to the college, then our financial aid team makes sure that all of the because they're responsible then for the grant reporting. So they make sure that all the residency documentation and everything else.
What's the length of time for approval that the work with board?
For the length of time for our IET programs to get approved, or
For the participant to get approved?
mhm.
It might be after the training is almost done. For.
Usually the funding's usually dispersed within the first week or two of the program starting.
I think if it's Career Source, if it is workforce investment board, it really depends on them. Sometimes it can be done in 2 weeks and sometimes it can be 2 months. It really depends on that individual, their background. But we will not start them in the program until the funding is secured. But and I will use CDL as an example, those programs start every month.
Yeah.
So they're not waiting until January.
Yeah. Our CDL program is monthly, and then our CNA program usually has at least 1 to 2 classes per term as well. Yeah. So they have pretty frequent cohorts, which is the benefit of some of these short term.
Institution, because we can just put them in the next one.
Yeah.
Well, and we were, I was at a conference, in Florida, a week before we came here, and that was something I didn't really think of, but they were suggesting, go to your Rotary clubs, go to your Chamber of Commerce, your economic, councils, your Main Street, even if they give you $1,000, even if they give you $500, it's going to add up quickly, and you can use it for things that maybe traditional funding wouldn't cover. For example, with the CNA, the vaccinations, if they're not able to get their vaccination records for their home country, it could be upwards of
1,000, more than 1,000. For example, for example, here in Florida, the majority of our population right now is Haitian Creole for our ESOL students. And unfortunately, a lot of them have not been able to obtain their vaccination history or records. So when they're being vaccinated for the CNA program, they've basically been vaccinated as if they've never been vaccinated before because they have to meet specific requirements. If they don't have insurance, that's over $1,000 worth of vaccinations. So before we were able to cover that cost with the scholarship, and that's going to be our priority moving forward because we already have seen how that can affect enrollment, obviously, because that's expensive. And a lot of our adult ed students are not able to cover those costs. So it's like, how can we alleviate that to ensure that our students continue to be enrolled and have that opportunity? And also too, with a program like CNA, it's a stackable credential. We also have LPN in the college. We have RN. We have a Bachelor of Science of Nursing. So all of our students, once they finish CNA, they don't have to stop there. We have so many that are already interested or looking forward to doing LPN once they earn their GED or potentially applying to the RN program. And our RN program is one of the best in the state and also one of the most competitive. And these students are already a part of IRSC.
I got them money. I've got them.
No, it's just a lot of work and a lot of.
Oh, absolutely.
Capacity to do all that.
Yeah. It's definitely a lot of outreach. Yeah.
They're supposed to be working in your region for their particular purpose, and I served on workforce development for 10 years, so I know how to work the program. But it takes a lot of effort on my part, and then being an advocate for a participant to show them how to utilize.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And building the capacity is just very difficult sometimes when you have to, okay, we go to this place and pull this dollars right here to make sure that this dollar's here. And I do it all the time, and I'm going to continue to do it for the participants that I have in the program. But it just becomes tedious. And I just don't like that a certain agency across the nation seems to have the same issue.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like funding is usually the forefront of what can be difficult with IET programs, especially because it's like, how are you going to fund these? How are students going to be able to get enrolled? Because honestly, a lot of our students are not capable of dropping $3,000 for a program when, I mean, some of our students struggle for their $30 adult ed tuition that they have to pay. So, you know, we try to build our partnerships as best as we can. And even we know that that's an area for improvement within our own program. And we've already attended other events where we've seen how they've built those industry partners. And it's definitely a topic of conversation for us moving forward as well. And it's just finding the relationship. The only issue is being able to continue that relationship after someone may depart from that company as well, because sometimes that can be difficult. Is that person knew everything about your program and then someone new comes in and it's restarting that relationship all over again. So it's definitely trying to maintain that line of communication and that mutual support that you guys can benefit for the students. Any other questions, you guys? Ah! Mom's the word. Mm. That's so funny. Any other questions for you guys? Thank you. It was such a pleasure meeting with you guys today. Actually, we have a photo of some of our team, and the woman in yellow is actually leading our CNA program at the college. And, you know, the more that the college knows, or if you're at a school district, maybe having a relationship with your technical college, or if you're another adult ed program, just figuring out what's in your county or what's in your district and how you guys can partner to support the students. Because if they're already offering something that's working, don't reinvent the wheel. Try to find a way that you can insert your students into those existing programs, because the problem is that all of us in adult ed wear a lot of hats and we do a lot of things, right? So how can we make our lives a lot easier by taking advantage of something that already exists? Thank you.